To any fish that I know of. It could be to like.
Okay, Chris, coming back with you on CC's Aquatic Adventures. Just giving you a little bit of a fish room tour. This one is actually a guppy tank. It's the guppy grow out tank. I had moved the baler sharks into the big 55-gallon. But you can see there's 3 mollies in there, actually 2 mollies. There's a Siamese alligator, which I keep in a lot of my tanks. We have black algae. And the tanks that have algae in or plants in, they grow black algae. I usually keep a algae eater in there, Siamese algae eater. But you can see there's a bunch of babies in there, a bunch of guppy babies. You know, one thing with guppies and you know, a muck guppy tank is usually the muck guppies don't live very long. Usually about 2 years. So you go through a lot of them. I have I'm gonna let these guys grow out a little bit. I do have another guppy in a 5-gallon grow out, or actually a 5-gallon quarantine that I'm quarantining right now. But these guys will have a bunch of babies. You can see the babies, and those babies will grow up. And we're gonna keep the muck guppy tank. We'll add a couple of mollies in there that I got quarantining too. So for right now, that's pretty much a guppy grow out and muck guppy tank with some mollies in there. The mollies don't bother anybody. If you look close enough, there is actually, because I keep this tank almost to the point where it's brackish. I do keep some. There's actually a bumblebee goby in here somewhere. I don't know where he is. Usually he pops out when it's time to eat, but he hangs out in the tank there somewhere. I don't even know where he is, but he's probably in there somewhere. I just haven't seen him yet. But you can see a bunch of babies in there, and they're gonna grow out big. And I don't really have any plans to put anything different in this tank, so this would be a guppy tank. Now, for some reason, I have 2 platies in there. I don't know where they came from. I have them. I have a male and female in my one platy tank, or actually there's about 6 of them in there. Somehow they got in there. It must have been maybe caught in a net. Maybe I didn't realize there was a baby in there. I don't know. But that's the living room tank. We got it in a different corner. I do have Corey on the TV, as you can see. But yeah, that's the guppy tank. And you can see how good they're doing. And there are a lot of babies in there. So going through the house, I have an extra bedroom that I use for a fish room. Now, this is my cart. I use this cart for water changes. Because of my disability, I can't really lift a lot. So whenever we have to do water changes, if I have to use a bucket, I will, you know, have someone help me carry the buckets, like my wife. But we don't do a lot of heavy lifting. It's never lifted to the sink. It's always right off this cart. Now, I also have a lot of hoses that we could use. There's one underneath there that I do hook up, actually make it go outside for the big 175. And there's a couple of hoses I got underneath here that right there, that I use to hook directly to the sink and drain it there. If I'm just doing a water change, I tank back there. I gotta do a gravel vac every now and then. So when I do a gravel vac, I don't run it outside. So this tank, it's a 15-gallon. I just moved this tank. Tank's been going for a strong 5 years. As you can see, there's some algae growth in there. I had a bristlenose in there, and I moved him to a bigger tank, the 55 actually. But anyway, I do have some bristlenose in quarantine going to be going in that tank. As you can see, it has my beautiful rummy nose, and it's got some brilliant rasboras in there, and a flying fox. That's a flying fox right there. Another guy who likes to eat black algae. This tank, when I first got it, was filled with black algae. As you can see, it's all cleared up. And that's because I leave the lights on a lot, and I do have some plants in here, even though it's overgrown. But most of it's for cover. And there, like I said, there is a couple of, you see right there, those guys, zebra loaches, are full grown. They're really cool fish. I also got some zebra loaches down here. You can't really see much in there because this tank is really overgrown, but there's some zebra loaches in there. I also got some flagfish. You can see right there on the top there's flagfish in there, and the neons. I have black neons and blue neons. You know what they look like. And that's pretty much self-explanatory. But they're in that tank too. You just don't see them because they like to hide. Now this is in the previous video I did show you guys. This is the Jaguar grow out. These guys are still babies. They were fried a couple of months ago. They come out and they'll eat pretty good. There's also a bristlenose pleco in there that hides. It's actually back there, and he's a pretty big boy. But yep, that's Jaguar tank. So coming over to this 75 gallon. Now obviously we've seen the renovation in this tank. This used to be where those guys were, minus the Oscars, but that 75 had all those fish in there, and we moved them out and put angelfish in there. The angelfish, as you can see, they're much happier in there, much less stressed. Now the plants, I tried a different substrate. I told you guys I'd be doing a 75 gallon video, but I just skipped that video and I went right to the fish room tour. Now the plants aren't doing so great in the gravel. I figured I would keep the gravel in there and put the sand on top and use the substrate, because there was a bunch of a bunch of stuff in the gravel that would make the plants grow, pretty much all the waste. But unfortunately, it looks like the plants aren't doing that great, so we're going to change it up a little bit in here. We're going to probably put some plants that don't need to be planted, like anubias, some water wisteria, which I got some in the corner there that's kind of overgrown. But we're gonna change some plants in here that don't need to be planted. Just had a little bit too many issues, so you can see some of these plants are dying. I didn't want to have plants that die, and this stuff here is just growing like out of control. But it's good cover for the angelfish. They like it, so that's what I really care about. The thing with this tank is that I probably have a little bit too much flow in here for the angelfish. And that's something that I really want to look into, maybe getting rid of there's two filters in there I was using for those guys, because I used two hanging in the back because there were a bunch of cichlids in here, and they made a mess. So my thinking is I might eliminate some of these filters in here and go with something a little bit less aggressive, I guess, flow wise for angelfish. See, I'm always doing something in the fish room. I'll put the water wisteria in this tank here, just because it looks like it's overgrown, so we'll put that in there, and that tank enjoys it. So anyway, back to the angelfish. This tank is not done yet. I have keyhole cichlids in there, as you can see in the bottom, and some angelfish. I just turned the light on this here, so that's why the colors aren't that great, but yeah, so I like the way it came out. I'm not going to change the substrate because I just don't want to stress these fish out. They already had a stressful situation in that tank there, because it's right next to the door, and they're much less stressed here. They don't stress out anymore, and I want to keep it that way. So we'll keep that the way it is, and we're just going to add some plants that don't need to be planted, and that's like anubias, hornwort, stuff like that. Hornwort actually goes more to the top, but this Java fern, there you go, I forgot the top of my head. We're gonna put that in the tank, and we'll let them grow without having to be planted. So yeah, that's the way the 75 gallon looks. As you can see, it's completely reformed and completely different than what it was, but you can see the angelfish have more space in there, and I'll be probably adding some more angelfish eventually. I did want to get some blue rams. I'm having a hard time finding blue rams. I did get a couple of gouramis in quarantine, but one of them died, so I may just skip on the gourami idea and maybe just move on to different angelfish. So you can see the pothos growing really good up there. That's planted still. I may take that out of the planter eventually and let the nitrates go into the cichlid tank. So the 55 gallon stayed. We just took some fish out of there. We left whatever was in there. There's a Jack Dempsey in the front there that's growing out. We're gonna keep it there, and there's also a green Terra back there that's growing out. Once we get them bigger, we'll move them into the 175. This is just a plain Jane cichlid tank. There's a mix. There's a red-tailed shark in there. There's a couple of obliques, a couple of peacocks. There's a mix of everything. I eventually want to move some of these fish around. I may just go back to getting old peacocks again. We'll figure that out when we go. We get to the next step here. When we get rid of Frank, not rid of him, when we move Frank to a different home, we're gonna probably move these smaller guys into the 175. But as you get, when I get to the 175, I will show you, you know, what's going on with the Oscars and what we're gonna do next. So yeah, that's the 75, 55 rack, and the 55 has a little bit less fish, but I noticed that there's less aggression when there's more fish. And you can see the red-tailed shark, which was in the he was in the guy with the, he was in the tank with the big guys, but he's way too small to go in that tank with the Oscars. As you can see, Frank there is messing around with his buddy. But anyway, getting back to this, yeah. So this 55 is also a Pseudodontis, and that marble one that hangs out in the log. We never see him. But the red-tailed cat, the red-tailed shark I was telling you about, he was too aggressive to go in the angelfish tank. He was picking on the angelfish and the keyhole cichlids. He was driving him crazy. So I had to put him in the 55 with the cichlids, and he's doing better in there. He's still picking on everybody like he usually does, but he couldn't go in this tank. He's too small. Now this is a shrimp tank, the 5 gallon. I haven't really got it in there and done anything with this tank. My favorite fish, the pencilfish, are in there. A little bit overgrown, Java moss, but there's about 5 or 6 shrimp in there, and they're hiding in like the wood. Can't really see them, like I say. There's a lot. It's very overgrown in there, but that's just actually a tank that I've done some what do you call it? I've done some just like what's the word I'm looking for? Experiments. There you go. To see what kind of fish I can put in here in the 5 gallon. You know, I usually don't like putting fish in 5 gallons, but I did. It is what it is. But the pencilfish is doing great in there. This, unfortunately, this light went out. But in here, it's just a little 1.5 gallon. I have some Java moss in there, and there's a bunch of different snails. The snails are for the puffers there. They like to eat the snails. I grow them out in there, and whenever my tank is overgrown or whatever whatever the fish can't get to eat, I'll put it in there and I'll grow them out and they'll eat. And this is the I showed you, we did a tank in this red. This is the 175 gallon. As you can see, we're overstocked right now, but Vance had gotten COVID, so he's in quarantine right now, so we can't move any fish until he gets better. He had it pretty bad actually, so and I can't leave my house without if there's COVID around, so we're gonna wait. But as you can see, the fish are doing great. They love their new digs. Frank and his buddy are getting after each other a little bit, but that's actually not the norm. They actually haven't been doing that. But Frank is the guy, you know, who's the biggest guy, so they're gonna pick on him. But yeah, this is the tank with the sump. I've added a lot of different things for flow and for oxygen. As you can see, there's 2. If you look close enough, there's 2 wave makers. There's 2 sponge filters, and there's 1 just bubbler. So yeah, I mean, you can see it's fairly clean. There's some stuff in the substrate, but I keep on top of that every day. We do gravel vac. I do gravel vac about twice a week right now, just because it drives me nuts when the sand gets on the gravel. But yeah, that's that's where we're at with that tank. You can see it looks really good, and the fish look great. I mean, I don't have a lot of lighting in here. There's one light I have that was actually kept blowing a circuit, so I turned it off. That for me is good enough light for them. I don't keep this this tank on a lot. I usually turn the light off just because of aggression. So yeah, you can tell it looks pretty good. All the guys in there are doing good. So there's a shelf there. I put my Betta in there. You can see that's overgrown too. There's a snail in there. The Betta's in just hanging out in the leaves here. Or in the branches. And there's a couple of tetras in there. You can't really see them, but they're in there. But that tank's just a little 5-gallon grow out, the 5-gallon Betta tank. And I think I skipped the tank. There's a 15-gallon high. Forgot about that one. I moved the lemon tetras in there, and there's a Betta in the top there. You can see the red Betta. He loves it. He hangs out in the plants. That's why I keep the plants high up there in the Java moss. I gotta fix that heater. Looks like it came out. But yeah, I keep there's also a, if you look on top here, there's like a little flower deal he likes to hang out on too. So yeah, it's a tall tank for them, but he's got a lot of stuff on the top there to help him. But that's the Betta, and that's one of the 3 Bettas I have in here. If you look over here, this is a 20-gallon long. I added some swordtails in there. You can see there's a big mama right there, and of course there's the orange tetras, the Von Rio tetras. Then there's a couple and a bunch of different swordtails, and there's actually my Kerbensis still in there, and a couple of panda cories. So yeah, that tank is pretty much. I'm hoping to have babies. I kind of changed the water in there to make them get some babies. Okay, so down here is a 20-gallon long. That's my mixed barb tank. You come down low here, but there's some barbs in there, tiger barb, a bunch of different barbs in there. Yeah, so barbs. I can't think of the name of the barb on the top of my head. There's some orange. There's some man, rosy barb.